All right, so tonight is Tuesday, January 10th, and this is the advisory meeting. On the docket for this evening, we have the veterans agent, Mr. Cabral, and that is line item 543 for those who really get into the weeds. From there, we're going to move on to the Conservation Commission. From there, Council on Aging, MIS, Ambulance, and then we'll close out the evening with some advisory business. So, Mr. Cabral, how are you, sir?
Okay.
Feel free. Come on down. How are you doing this fine evening?
Great.
Excellent. Good to hear. All right. So, would you mind taking us through your budget? We're looking, for everyone here, it's the very front page. There looks to be just an ever so slight increase relative to last year. And I will readily admit that we are in the process of, trying to analyze, certain individuals coming in or not, and I would say that if I had my stuff together in a better fashion, I may have sent you a call saying, hey, we're kind of good, but
Yeah, no, that's fine.
but
Okay.
at the same time, I used you as an example because simply for the fact that every time you come in here, you always seem to share some information with us that the only way we're going to get is if you're in front of us.
Okay.
So if you wouldn't mind just taking us a little bit, we've got a few new members.
All right.
If you wouldn't mind just taking us through a little bit of what goes on in your day-to-day over the course of the year and your overall budget.
Well, the only thing I really have to explain, I think, is the veterans benefits.
Mm-hmm.
Everything else is kind of self-explanatory. But as of today, I did have a new veteran come in along with his wife, but we didn't finish the paperwork. How much that's going to cost the town every month, I can't give you an answer.
Because it's not a per head number. It literally
yes,
changed.
yeah.
It's different per.
Right. We did lose a widow of a veteran this past year.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I'm sticking with the $16,800.
Yeah.
Like I said, we reimburse them for some of their expenses, health insurance.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so, the one big thing with your budget is the fact that this money is essentially appropriated by the town. You subsequently go about using it. There is a reimbursement
Right.
component.
The town does get 75% back.
Yeah, but because of timing, it ends up falling in the next fiscal year, right?
It could.
Yeah. Okay.
The state.
Yeah.
Yeah, it takes about a year.
Okay.
Right. Yeah.
All right.
So that number may have to be bumped up depending on their expenses.
Yes. Okay.
Compared to the widows last year.
But the person who came in to see you today, that would be applicable for FY18.
Yes, right.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, he'll start as soon as I do the paperwork, but,
All right. So, can you guys weigh in? Someone came in to see Mr. Cabral today, right? I mean, we are in FY17, and he said the impact will start immediately for that person.
Right, out of 2017's budget.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, fine. So,
If we did lose that widow,
yeah,
then I would have to come before you guys to.
yeah, and so you're aware of that process?
Yep.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the biggest thing is, as, depending upon what goes on with this new couple that came before you today, if, as we get closer towards June 30th, and this FY, 17 number happens to be coming down,
Yeah.
you know what to do.
So you
Excellent. Okay.
Right.
So, guys, do you have any questions?
I'm just curious how many beneficiaries or
In town of Bolton, right now, we only have two.
because we had, I guess these are calendar years from Mass.gov.
Oh, yeah, right,
We got two in 2013, one in 2013, two in 2014.
And then I went up to
it's just
three.
straight line across, we went up to three.
Went up to 3 in 2014, I think it was.
2014.
Yeah.
Okay, they got two here.
Well, it could have been in 15.
No, I don't know if these are
Depends on
applied.
when she applied. So right now, we have 3.
Okay.
And this latest one, along with his wife too, so, but we still only have 3 veterans and their spouses.
So the number that Ted was referring to, it's,
That's either veterans or widows of a veteran,
okay.
not their spouse.
They're public cases.
Okay.
This is right.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions? I don't have a problem with the FY '18 proposed budget, so I'll answer.
One last question. please.
Yeah.
On the budget sheet, there's a COLA notion of 2.3%. Is
But
that
I
locked in,
didn't-
or is that just a?
No, I didn't factor that in. Donna said that'll be done.
We did it for everyone.
That's done outside of?
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
Once the selectmen vote.
So your comment about wages,
It may or may not be that percentage.
no, just the fact that your comment earlier this
But there's no
evening
COLA in here.
hasn't,
Right.
Right.
But the percentage, is it 2.3 or yet to be determined?
Yet to be determined.
Okay.
so your comment about wages and salary going up, just going up even more. 'cause
Everything's
it's not,
going up.
not baked in yet. Yeah.
So that bottom number will probably change.
Yeah.
Yes,
Right.
yeah, and so I'll entertain a motion to approve Veteran Services line 543 with the numbers proposed in front of us with the stipulation knowing that COLA is still to be factored in.
So moved. Second.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed? All right. Thank you, sir.
Okay?
Have a nice evening.
I'm gonna try. When I came in, it wasn't too bad.
Hopefully it's not raining too much.
It's very noisy.
As soon as I got my phone.
Just a sec.
All right, next up, Conservation Commission. We're 5 minutes ahead of schedule, but if you guys are all here, feel free to come on down. How are you?
Good, how are you?
I'm Brad.
I'm Rebecca Longbottom, the new administrator.
Rebecca, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Nice
Nice to meet you.
I'm Ted.
Nice to meet you.
All right.
Rebecca and Brian.
Rebecca and Brian from Conservation Commission.
Hello.
That's Ken True.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Calling in,
I feel like-
yes. All right. So how are you this evening?
Good.
Good. So feel free to take us through, as we're at line 171.
Okay, so basically, obviously, so I'm new to this process, right? So what you have before you is obviously a request for the 2018 budget.
Yes.
And the first item is, well, purchase of services. The wages is just simply the step increase.
Exactly.
And that's typical, I guess I talked to Donna, and that would be what's required. And then the purchase.
But you didn't calculate the steps, did you?
No, Donna did.
Okay. All right. But may I ask how long you've been here?
I've been here since October.
Okay. And government is a wonderful world. Meat already available for a step. That's fabulous.
Every July.
She's underpaid to start with. Should put that out there too, yeah.
Thank you for that.
Yeah, so if that makes you feel any better.
So clearly you were watching the Mr. Sessions hearings today.
No.
Please continue.
Madam Police yourself. But so, for purchase of services, if I can move this back. We had previously sort of carried over the amount for the open space and recreation plan.
Yes.
So our timeline for that is to have it completed by the annual town meeting this year. However, between now and then, we may still need those funds to hire in our GIS consultant. I'm creating the contextual maps and most of the maps that we need, but when we go to format it to put it in the actual document, we may need extra help. And Carol had calculated that cost previously, and that's
Okay.
what we're carrying over.
So you're carrying over the cost, but you're laying the foundation that you maybe come to us saying the 14.5 is not enough.
No, the 14.5 is enough, is what
Okay.
I'm saying.
Okay.
And
And this is, just to refresh my memory, this is the overall town map
yes,
updated, in that, having that, or that plan updated
right.
allows,
That's not the same map,
It's a plan.
not the town map. That's the one that the planning board has jurisdiction over.
okay,
These are maps within the open space plan.
Right.
It's a different thing.
all right, so it's the plan
Yes.
that if had been created and completed, might have paved the way earlier last fall for the whole Camp Virginia thing.
Yes.
Right, it allows,
There's a lot of grant funding that we're not eligible
All right,
for
yeah,
unless our plan is up to date.
Also,
Okay.
with the, whether it be the data layers that we're already using or ones that we may need future help with, that will supplement the online GIS that we have access, or the public has access to now, so we're working with Gary as well to update those.
Okay.
And see what needs updating, and that's part of that process.
all right. And once this plan is completed, the plan is then good for how long?
7 years,
Yes.
am I correct?
Yep.
Okay. Donna?
I'm a little confused. Rebecca, you said it's gonna be done by town meeting.
So,
So are all the 14.5 gonna be expended in FY17?
if it's used, yes.
So then you
So-
won't need it for 18.
So then you won't need it for 18. That's what,
Right,
that's what
so-
I guess I'm,
So the reason why it's carried over again, or it's being requested to be carried over
Because
again,
you don't know if you're gonna use it this
because we
year.
don't know if we're gonna
I
use
see.
it this year, but also in order to update, like what Gary monitors online, our GIS maps, that would also be used for that, which in the future would, if the layers are updated correctly, that will make it easier in the future to update an open space plan or any sort of informational document.
so you need the 14.5, both 17 and for 18.
So they'll turn it back for 17 if they don't use it, right?
Right.
And then have it for 18.
Oh, okay.
And then everything else is remaining the same? Okay.
Yep.
Any,
Well, then the dues have a slight raise for exactly what it means. Dues for Mass Association of Conservation Commission, and then the MSNCP as well.
I see dues at 550.
Yep.
Okay. So,
Yes,
budget at
excuse me.
550 less.
Excuse me, you're correct, then it stays the same.
Yeah,
I've
we're,
been-
we are presently in budget, we are in FY17. What we are talking about this evening is proposed FY18.
What is conservation fund 5963?
That's the money we're supposed to be saving for land acquisition and whatnot. The town used to contribute a certain amount every year. As budgets tighten, we've stopped basically contributing. We put a small amount in. We can use it for certain things like title searches on land that's given to us. I would actually wanted to say something at the end before we left about that, this year we're keeping it flat at nothing. We've kept it at nothing for so many years. Next year, my intention is to put that back. Probably started at 5,000 a year. It's less than $1 per person in town. It would have been nice to have that war chest when Camp Virginia came up. It's the whole reason it was started. People
Assuming
contributing
it
for
was
years.
5,000?
Well, 5,000, over years. I mean, we've stopped contributing for however many years.
Yeah.
We do gain a small amount of interest on that. It was a war chest to have, and now with the 30 grand that's there, you're not really gonna buy much. It's kind of too little to buy anything we would want and not enough. I mean,
Can I ask you a question? Just if you put 5,000 in there, I mean, obviously that's not enough to buy anything, but because it's appropriated, it has to get turned back.
No, it's actually a fund that can build over time.
But it shouldn't be in this, then it wouldn't be in this budget.
That should-
It should be an article.
Right, it'd be an article for town meeting, it wouldn't be
And
in,
you would be moving that money into the Conservation Trust, most likely.
no, it's a
No,
separate.
that's a trust.
So you're looking for like a revolving fund kind of thing?
Yeah, I believe that's how it's been run.
But it should be a line,
We don't
it should
have
be a
that.
line on the town warrant.
We need.
There's nothing accounted
Yeah,
for.
currently we do not have a conservation.
We're not
fund.
passing town money into the conservation trust.
All right.
No, that's a different.
But right
Yeah,
now,
Yeah, that's a different, yeah,
but
that's
if
a
you
private
did,
entity.
if you did put, no, we have a conservation.
There is a
Fund.
conservation,
There
yeah.
is,
Yeah, fund,
and it's about
right.
$40,000.
Yes.
So not
But
the
if you-
conservation trust, I
Right,
think that's.
it's not the
correct.
trust
Yeah, yeah.
group, yeah.
It's an actual trust.
But if you put the 5,000 in here and you didn't spend it, it would go back to the general fund.
Right, you couldn't keep it.
You can't put a budget number in like that, so.
No, it
I
should
would
be
have to
a-
see how it was done in the past, because in the
Yeah.
past, there were yearly contributions to it.
It might be that other fund, we'd have to look, but
Yeah.
it
And I
definitely
thought it
wouldn't be
was
through
set
the,
up.
it wouldn't
to
be through
part
the
of this.
appropriation process.
We can look into it.
Yeah, I think that's how it was set up and done for years.
So, I am,
That's it, I would say, it has nothing to do with this year is.
Yeah, no, that-
Yeah,
it's
yeah, it's a fight
$100.
for another time, yeah, exactly.
yeah, I mean, it is, I mean, we do have the benefit of having the town treasurer and the town accountant, and I do know that at the end of every year, June 30th, when there's any money in any of these buckets, it does get forwarded on to the general fund, so I can understand the desire to have a certain amount set aside, but I think it would be by way, to their point of a warrant article, and I would rather have that conservation fund line item at zero.
Yeah.
Or eliminate the line item.
Yeah.
If the
Exactly.
nomenclature is not.
So I'd like to look and see how it was done in the past, if it was set up a
Hold
specific
on,
way.
hold on,
Yeah, I
Ken, I will get to you.
You're going against 40 years of history when you do that.
That's okay.
The conservation fund was set up to put money into, and it stayed there, it didn't go away at the end of the year, it was there if it needed to be spent.
I think we're talking about two different things.
It needed to be spent either to buy land or to get ready to buy land, and it never had to have a warrant article put into it, and it never got taken away from warrant. I don't really see why it should now.
He's correct, I think it was rolled into the trust, if it wasn't spent that year, it would be rolled into the trust.
Usually a trust
Not
fund.
through this
No, it's
process.
not.
Not the trust, not the conservation
We'll
trust.
look into it.
Yeah, they do, the town trust fund.
Wait, you know what?
It's not worth arguing about
Hold
tonight.
on. We also have the benefit of two selectmen here.
There should be a fund in the town bucket somewhere that has dollars in it that have gone into the conservation.
There
fund,
is.
Haven't been spent.
There is.
Yes, there's, Ken, there is.
Mechanism.
Ken, there is.
Nobody's taking
There
that
is.
money away.
There is that fund. But it doesn't mean that the mechanism to fund it should be by way of this budget. And if it was 40 years of doing it, then it was 40 years of doing it incorrectly.
I don't know about
I
that.
agree with that.
I disagree with that as well, yeah.
All right.
That's an argument.
Again,
Yeah.
we have the benefit.
But to me, there's nothing wrong with having it there, and if you're gonna vote on eliminating that line item, then I'll vote against it.
Okay. We have the benefit of two selectmen here. I would be interested to hear their opinion on this matter, if they have.
I would say, to Ken's point, that this has been something that's been occurring now for the last 30 or 40 years, and we're looking at $100. I would say just leave it for now. Move the $100 in the fund, and between now and
We can't do that though.
well, what
If
does
we
it
don't
match
spend
go-
it, it has to go back to the general fund
Well,
by state law.
but we need to find out what the mechanism was. If Ken is correct in that this has been done for 40 years, it's $100. Leave it for now. If we have to move $100 back, it's no big deal in July. But I think we should research, and if you're looking to want to increase,
Yeah, to make it a real number next
make
year.
a real number next year, then we should go to that process and have it as a warrant article.
Yeah, I mean,
Or
Or
whatever
whatever needs to be
right,
done.
or whatever
But
needs-
there are
whatever needs to
governmental
be done.
accounting standards that don't.
yeah, I mean,
Right.
this, see, it's not exactly the same, but it seems eerily similar to the whole ambulance fund that Mr. Frayne, brought to light last year, so.
No, it's not,
That was
that's
different.
not
Yeah,
the
it's
same.
different.
That's not.
It's not even close, yeah.
No, that has nothing to do with that. That's what was the donations that can't have anything to do with the budget.
But
I'd say, leave it the way it is, let's research it, it's $100.
Yeah.
The worst case that happens is they turn back $100 at the end of the fiscal year. I'm not worried about $100.
Yeah.
And then if you want to bump it up, I would say, let's figure out
We'll
what's
have
the right way to do
We'll have the
it.
conversation next
Exactly.
year, yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
assuming you're able to hit your goal of this being completed by town meeting.
Yes.
You said you were looking, there's additional maps
Yep.
that need to be, what is that number? Because I am concerned that
Okay.
we do have 14.5 being carried over.
Right.
If you hit your goal, that 14.5 gets expended.
Yep.
But we've already approved and baked in 14.5 for next year.
Right.
So I'm a little uneasy about that.
Okay.
Because unless you're telling me that these additional maps are gonna be another 14.5?
Well,
Go
I
ahead.
was gonna say, the other thing too, is if it is by the town meeting, if it is completed and spent down by town meeting, we can always amend the article there.
Exactly.
Amend
Yeah,
it
you
down
can
to
reduce it
nothing.
at town meeting.
Yeah.
But it would be helpful, like Brad said, to have the cost of additional
Yeah.
things that you need Gary to do.
Yeah,
But amending on town meeting floor, I think is the right way to.
yeah, it clearly maps, so if it's 2,000 or 3,000,
Yeah.
that would be very
Yeah,
helpful.
Right.
yeah, we could even cut it way down.
Or if you get half the project done and need, half of it rolled forward.
Better, yeah.
But you can amend that number on the town floor.
We also, so I was just carrying it over because, like I said, my predecessor had calculated this out and said, okay, this is what it takes for a consultant to create these maps in this amount of time. So I carried that over thinking, okay, well, we need to continue that work for either more extensive maps or more data that needs to go into it.
Sure.
So that's where I got that number from, but I
Yeah,
can.
no, and I remember the number.
Right.
Because you guys first came to us for like 11, and we said no.
Right.
And then you came back and said, we told you it was gonna be 14.
Yeah. So the other sort of reasoning behind keeping that as well is in creating the open space and recreation plan, we're finding that there are a few parcels that could be or might be of interest to the Conservation Commission. It's currently used as conservation land parking areas or entrances. So there's a fee to filing, registering, and then the town council needs to be involved in that. That's where
Sure,
that
no.
plays in as well.
I understand all that. Since you are new, I'll also share a little bit about what we're responsible for.
Yep.
So we have to obviously look through your budget and help you to, and provide you with the resources that you need to carry out your mission.
Yep.
But in this particular example, right, if you're able to hit your goal of this by the town meeting and you've expended 14.5 and you come back and say, hey, you know what? I know for a fact that these maps that we need to move forward are gonna be 4,500. Keeping the 14.5, right, that's an additional $10,000.
Right.
That we are asking the town. Now, I know that you can take that number and divide it by households and it will come down to 3 cents per
Yeah.
household. But I don't care.
Yep, I
Right?
understand.
If they don't need to be taxed anything additional, I don't want it done.
Of course.
Okay. Any other questions, comments? All right. I'm okay with what you have for FY18, subject to, again, the stipulation that the wage line, as a function of COLA still being determined, and that if you're able to be successful with this plan, there may be a potential amendment on town floor for purchase of services. So I'll entertain a motion to approve line 171 as is for a total number of $76,475.
I so
Second.
All right. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed? All right. Passes. Thank you. Have a nice evening.
Thank you.
Nice to meet you. Best of luck to you.
Thank you.
All right. $7:30, Council on Aging.
Up you go.
Come on.
Up you go, madam.
Hi.
Hello.
You know, I must be sure she knows you, eh?
Yes.
How do we know who I am?
Everybody knows who you are.
No one knows wants to know.
All right. So, how are you this evening?
I'm fine.
Excellent. Doing wonderful. So tell us a little bit of what's going on with the Council on Aging this year.
Okay, this year, for fiscal year 18, what we're requesting.
Why don't you do it?
That was a question. You want to know about this year? This year,
Yeah,
2018.
And then what to do is if you find that you don't have enough.
FY18, yeah, if you could give us just a little bit of a summary, what's
Yeah, I
happening
think it's
presently,
It'll be up to
and then
you to make up
what you have planned for, what you're looking for.
My only large increase, and it really isn't large increase for the town of Bolton, is that we want to increase the outreach workers hours from 15 to 19 hours. That will be paid for mainly by a state grant, $4,000. And what it will really cost us is about $1,400 more. The only other increase that I increased was the cable, and that's always going up, and so I only increased it $25. And also the lease agreement with RCAP, where we hold our senior center and council and aging office. Basically, they increased it by 5%, which is also included in the budget. Everything else remains the same.
To address why we want to increase the outreach workers' salary, other than the fact that she probably works 30 hours a week and gets paid for 15 right now, we'd like to at least somehow reimburse her for some of the hours. I don't think there's a senior or anyone in town government, to tell you the honest truth, who doesn't think she is spectacular. And in fact, this is her. I'd like to make her blush. Yes, it's working.
It actually is.
Not only does...
And I would venture to guess the more that we focus on you, it might get a little... There we go.
Not only does Lisa work with all the seniors in town and help them to make their way through all the myriad of services and what's available to seniors in town to help them stay in their homes. She also helps a lot of people who live in town who have family who live outside town, who call her up and say, you know, I've got a mother, so what kind of services are generally offered? And Lisa does that. And so she's...
And these are people who live outside of town?
No, these are people who live in town.
Yeah.
These are children who
The
live
adult
outside.
children live in town, or it's children who live in town call up, and also children from outside town who call about their parents in town. So she covers a huge array of services and helps people. She walks on water, in my opinion.
But it's all included here, what she does in the wage and salary increases. That have been signed off by Donna.
Yeah, and Donna had something to say too.
She's wonderful, but.
See, now she's really questioning.
No, I mean, we signed off on it and we support it, not to mention the new fuel assistance that's in here also. The only thing that we had on this budget was, we made an effort a few years back to get away from all miscellaneous lines. So our only request is that the 5780 miscellaneous dollar figure gets lumped into purchase of services. Because no
We
other.
don't care where
Yeah.
it is.
Just
So
because it has the
$50.
appearance of a slush fund,
No,
even though I know
agreed.
it's not.
And no other department now has miscellaneous. This was the
The
last
police-
one.
the police.
Oh, well, we're gonna get rid of that one.
And that, no, and I have no problem with doing it,
Yeah.
since I suggested doing that 10 years ago when I was on your seat.
Yeah, so,
Because I don't like messing
Well,
always over
why
100.
didn't you do it sooner?
Because we wanted to see if you were awake, Fred.
so yeah, I would just move that 1,100.
It's all broken down, what miscellaneous.
Yeah, so just moving it to purchase of
Move it into
services.
the other one,
Yeah,
that's
and then get rid
But
of the
for a small
miscellaneous.
COA, which we are, if you compare us to a lot of the bigger ones, we provide a huge number of services to the town, which is, and the seniors in this town are 20% of the population.
And also, for those who might be watching on TV, we are looking for a program coordinator.
We are looking
If
for
you're
an
interested,
activities
an activities
coordinator.
coordinator.
8 hours a week.
For the poor
Contact me.
people watching.
Contact me directly.
I
I'm
have
looking,
all programs sitting in the wings and
Yes.
I'm telling them all, I'll get
I'm
back
looking
to
for a
you.
live body.
Get back to you.
I've been asking everybody I know.
It would be a great thing for, you know, a mom
Yeah.
who has kids in school, because it's only 8 hours a week. Who likes to, you have to like to work with seniors. Because as you know, Brad,
That's just a
working with someone
commercial.
like me can be difficult, and when you're.
Nice.
You are, you're,
I'm not used to work, aren't I?
like, are you, was that an invite? Like, what? I mean,
Brad, you know I love you.
just like,
I saw that on camera.
You know I love you.
So, is everyone on advisory okay with moving miscellaneous of 1,100 up to purchase of services and eliminating 5780 miscellaneous?
Sure, we were trying to get rid of.
Yeah, all right,
Easy.
okay. Any other questions, concerns from the group?
The building rental, who is the landlord?
RCAP,
Okay.
they own the building. We
Who is
gave,
RCAP?
RCAP is, what do the RCAP stand for?
They're hired by HUD.
Yeah, HUD, they're a managing, they're a company that manages HUD's buildings.
And where is he building? Is it
It's the-
senior center?
See, there's the
I mean,
senior housing.
Senior housing, oh,
Yeah,
okay.
we rent space and we use their common room 3 days a week.
Sure.
But when, you see, the town gave the land, HUD built the building, and RCAP manages the building.
Do we have any leverage to negotiate or?
Not much, like zero.
Okay. And then it says out of warranty repair service.
Well, we've been known to have
PCs, laptop.
computers that just die.
Yeah, but is Gary per?
Oh, absolutely, Gary keeps it on. He keeps it going for as long as he
He lets
can, but
me
when,
know when I need new warranties, et cetera.
Okay.
He's
Yeah.
right on
I'm
top
just
of it.
curious if he has a line item that includes your.
no, I think he leaves ours, I mean, this is to replace a computer if it dies. We lost one this year.
Yeah.
Our computers are a little old.
No, I'm just, maybe you inherit ones that are cast off.
Well, we may have in the past,
guess it's a
you know.
No, but maybe they should only have Gary's.
Well, no, I think that's where you're going, Ted, right? Like,
Well,
I guess.
Gary's coming in.
Gary's next.
Gary's
A lot
here.
are
I mean, if
built in.
Gary wants to put a number in and take it out of ours and put it into his, that's fine.
Okay.
As long as he remembers it's ours.
And it says
Right.
replacement of outdated, unserviceable equipment. It's not a big number, but what equipment? Just curious. Could be sports equipment, could be.
No, it's not.
Printer copier, is that?
No, printers.
It's $300.
Copiers.
Yeah.
Computers.
Printer copiers, computers, that type of
Okay,
thing.
so that's also Gary.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's all the Gary things.
All right.
I believe in Gary's budget and in the equipment and stuff, that's for the town,
Yeah.
not the council on aging. So I don't think we should
I don't
be
know.
mixing council on aging.
I mean, we are sort of a separate entity.
That's true.
I would
I mean,
mix that together.
As long as when we have a computer that dies, Gary gets a new one.
So we're talking $500 estimate.
Yeah.
Figure. That's
If we don't use it, you get it back.
They get that.
So you're not a town employee?
Yes.
No, she's a town employee, but the Council on Aging is sort of an entity unto itself.
explain it.
Yeah, well, I think Gary does have a replacement schedule for all computers only, not
Only
printers,
computers,
right.
not copiers, because
Yeah.
we take care of our own. But there is a replacement schedule, we can ask him, I don't know if it's 4 years or 5 years or
Right, but if you're
whatever.
talking printers and stuff, then
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
But
also,
I'm just more trying to, I mean,
Gary
so
can
he's
explain
trying to
it.
grasp with the Council on Aging's a little different
exactly. I
from,
mean, I understand the difference between the, or at least I thought I did, the Friends of Bolton Senior.
No, 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 no,
I know.
we went through that last year, you don't want to go there.
I know it's a separate, and
That's a
so I
volunteer.
was of the understanding.
No, no, no. The Council on Age, the Friends of Anywhere, remember we went, yeah, we won't go there. Anyhow, that has nothing to do with this. The Council on Aging, now, maybe you can help me explain.
Well, I mean, they are employees of the town, they just
So why-
rent space instead of being a
Why
town
are,
hall.
so why are we not classifying them as a town entity?
They are.
They are a town entity,
I was
but
just,
they have.
you guys just said
they-
you weren't.
Well, no, I didn't say that.
Yeah.
Mr.
There-
Frey,
Who appoints?
The selectmen appoint the board,
And who hires?
You appointed people.
Shimlowski,
the board.
board, the board of selectmen?
Well, the board recommends the selectmen, and the selectmen usually follow the board's recommendation.
Yeah.
And which is exactly what happens with board members. We recommend to the selectmen, and to my knowledge, haven't ever had a selectman turn us down. But I've only been there and I don't remember as a selectman ever turning them down, so.
I've been there since 1999. and
No, yeah.
Ken, I heard you, did you have something to share, Ken?
No.
Oh, wait, you just-
I don't have anything.
Oh.
Kenneth, do you ever remember us ever turning down?
What?
Do you ever remember the selectmen ever turning down a recommendation from the Council on Aging for board members?
No, but it's still the appointed town.
It is an appointed, yeah,
Conservation Commission,
yeah, exactly.
at least in my recollection.
Yeah, no, I agree with you.
Isn't it mandated by the state?
Council on Aging mandated by the state?
It is,
I think it
yes,
is.
it is.
I think it is.
State mandated. Yeah.
And the van drivers, I know there's a percentage of that is reimbursed.
All of it's free.
All of it is, okay.
It's basically, we charge them, they pay us back.
All right.
It's all the expenses are
Regular
reimbursed.
gasoline.
And the reason we can cover part of Lisa's salary with the grant is because the grant increased this year.
Yes. It increased to $10 per senior. We go on the 2010 census saying we only have 764 seniors in the town, which we have almost 1,100 seniors, but they go by a census. And we get $10, so we have $7,640 for fiscal year 18. It was $9.
So the extra dollar.
Extra dollars for that.
Oh.
Any other questions? All right. I'll entertain a motion to approve Council on Aging 541 for a total number of 72,982.
So moved. Second.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed? All right.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you, Ron.
Thank you.
I meant to talk to you today, so I will look to speak with you tomorrow if that's...
Here, let me. There's one thing that did come up that I talked to Donna about. And I talked to Donna about it, and she's gonna check into it, because we don't know exactly where we are in this, but the state has, on the strip program, when we registered, there was a committee that ran the strip program. Now it's sort of run by separate entities in the town hall.
What is
Strip is the,
Senior work office.
is the senior
Tax rebate.
tax
Oh, yes,
rebate.
okay.
Yeah, and you can, it went from, the state just raised it from $1,000 maximum that you can get to $1,500. So Don and I are gonna talk to the assessors and figure out, I think Don called me and left a message, she said, I think it has to go to town meeting for a vote.
Yeah, I
I
went
think it has to
through,
be an article, but we gotta figure that out
Yeah,
before we.
I left the email for Pam, because I went through warrants for like 7 years and couldn't find it.
Yeah,
Maya?
It doesn't have to go.
so we have to figure out what it means, and then we'll come back to you and explain to you what we found out it means.
Yeah, it really doesn't affect your budget.
No, it doesn't
or
affect your
any line,
budget.
So,
but
It's
we're not
more-
sure exactly how it all works. So we're gonna find out. And then we'll let you know.
Okay.
How that be? Okay?
I've got hard copies of my handout. You,
I was not, yes, it's presently on my cell phone. Thank you.
I have it too. Oh, I can do that. I've already got one. You have?
Complete with the red notes.
Red notes, not lines.
Yeah.
Anybody else?
Sure. Thanks.
Let's share.
Yeah.
I'll take one. Yeah, thank you very much.
How are you this evening?
I'm doing pretty well, actually. How about you folks?
Fabulous.
Great. Okay. This is my usual format. And I made a couple of changes relative to my original request. Pretty minor ones. The first one has to do with purchase of services. Over the past several years, I've been doing about 800 hours per year. And we have a few significant projects coming up next year. And one of them, I had anticipated I'd need about 40 hours worth of extra work for. This has to do with the camera migration project. I don't know if you've talked to assessors yet. Okay, well, they'll explain all the details about that.
Wonderful.
Yeah, I originally thought that 40 hours would be required, but it turns out that the assessors will be doing the bulk of the work, mostly data migration. So I've reduced that from 40 to 15 hours for myself.
Okay.
Okay, miscellaneous work.
And that difference right there solely drives the difference from the original
That's
request
it.
of 43,680. Okay. All right.
The next, I'm focusing on FY '18, I don't know if you guys want to go over FY '17 at all or not. Parts and supplies, I've sort of dropped, typically I've had some money in there for plotter maintenance support. I've dropped that because we seldom use the plotter. But I have increased the miscellaneous from 100 to 300, just because I'm tending to use more parts now, and supplies.
And you don't have a miscellaneous
I don't, that's my miscellaneous right there,
oh,
okay?
repairs, parts,
Sorry?
repairs, parts.
Repairs, parts, for example, I use a lot of raw cable to restructure the infrastructure, connectors, a couple of tools, et cetera, and actually some office supplies. Okay. Software support, basically no change there. Web services, no change there. Purchase of equipment, I forgot one element, which was a new firewall that we need for town hall. So there's a little bit of extra there. The net is, I'm pretty close to what I originally submitted, a little bit less. Okay?
Yeah, so the question that was just, within the last group that was here, they had some numbers in their budget, Council on Aging, for software support and equipment. And can you share a little bit about to what extent you're involved with Council on Aging?
Yes, I provide sort of user level support. I provide infrastructure support, so that's all billable services from me. I have provided in the past some, I want to say I provided PCs,
Yeah.
but I'm not, I haven't provided other PCs.
Are they in your rotation, Gary, of replacement equipment? Like the library, like any department?
Yeah, they are
Yeah,
actually.
that's what I thought it was.
How much of what you do for Council of Aging is in this budget versus somewhere else?
Well, I think what I do, the bulk of what I do in terms of expense and cost is really my service. Because and they have 1, 2, 3 PCs over there. So, you know, I support roughly 40 PCs, 10% of what I do for services. And actually, it's a little bit less because they don't really have a lot of heavy application and difficult configurations over there.
But if you do work over there, you bill it or invoice it?
I bill it to the town, this is in my
Purchase of
budget.
service.
Yes, that's the services. what I'm grappling with is I just don't remember about the PCs. Don is probably right in terms of it's in there.
Do you know what you use for, like a rotation of equipment? Is it 3, 4, 5 years, something?
Oh, yeah, we had, last year we went
Because
through.
I remember we were talking about.
Last year we went through a real big deal about
Right.
purchasing.
2 years.
Leasing
Yes,
versus.
leases.
Was that 2 years ago?
Exactly.
Yes, it was.
Yeah.
Seems like
It just-
yesterday.
It goes by so much.
2 years ago, okay. Yes, in the past, Donna, I've tried, the typical standard thing, industry standard is 3 to 4 years.
Yeah.
To do a tech refresh. And I've always pushed it to at least 5,
Yeah.
primarily because Dell gives us the warranty until 5.
Yeah,
And beyond that, I can't extend warranties. So I go, look, 5, 5.5.
yeah, that's what I thought, yeah.
Okay, so I hope did I answer the question about council on aging, or did you?
I think so.
Yeah.
Do you have any other concerns about, I have provided some network devices, but, you know, it's pretty minor stuff.
No, it's just, you know, all we're just, you know, I'm less concerned, I guess, with the council on aging. I mean, I'm just looking here. I mean, the number was,
800.
yeah.
For 790.
For equipment?
Software.
Oh, well, you know, they have that big senior center software package.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's any maintenance associated with that.
I think there might be.
Or subscription fee?
I think there's a yearly subscription fee,
Right.
it's small, and then she also said it was for their copier and printer.
Right, which would be theirs anyway.
Because that
I typically
department's.
don't cover the copier because that's really.
Right,
Exactly.
she said that they, that
Yeah.
those should go every once in a while.
Yeah.
Yes, we know they do.
Okay, so that's sort of the summary of the changes.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to go through FY17 detail?
Yeah, that'd be good.
Okay, so this is 6 years. My run rate so far is above my normal run rate, and it's mostly because of a couple of projects. I just don't know where I'm gonna be in 6 months, so I'm not saying anything right now about, you know, the need for a transfer, I just don't know. So, but I am exceeding my run rate, so I feel a little bit more than I normally do this time of year. Okay, this little graph here is just for your information. It's kind of a breakdown of how my billing profile, you know, what percentages for users, what percentages for network infrastructure, general tech support, and there's a project line there, which is, it's actually been pretty heavy this year. I've been doing a lot of project work.
And do you see that increasing? Or is this just
This one goes up and down. I mean, you know, in prior years, it's been about, you know, 15%, and that's been pretty stable, but this past year, there's just been a bunch of stuff. And next year's probably gonna be significant too, with not only the CAMA thing, but we have the automated permitting software, GeoTMS. That company was purchased by another several years ago, and the project's not evolving. The support is still there, but I'm sort of very sensitive to, I'm a little nervous about the support. So we really need to be looking at migrating.
Yeah, so that, you know, I have the benefit of you here tonight in front of us. And, you know, there was something that was brought up last week. You know, invariably, there's gonna be departments that come before us that have software support. Well, explain the increase? Well, it's because this is just big. And it's tough to swallow, because I mean, it seems it's needed on these various departments.
Yes.
And it seems as though once it's in, it's just a guarantee automatic increase. And whatever organization it is, they've just created themselves a nice little pension off of the town.
Yeah.
And so I guess my big wind-up here for you is, given your position in town, you know, are we able to explore any other avenues, still provide the given, and I recognize, you know, there's certain, you know, departments that need a certain thing, but is there something that we might be able to look at to give them the same capabilities, but
I'm not sure if this is a general question or is it a GeoTMS automated permitting question.
It's anything.
The GeoTMS, well, the nice thing about the GeoTMS thing is that we have set up this revolving fund specifically for the purpose of maintaining, and I think with a little bit of interpretation, replacing and evolving that software. So there's money in that revolving fund that's dedicated for this project. So that's kind of a null for that project. That was handled correctly. Okay, that one. Something like CAMA,
It's
Well,
specialized to the assessors.
It is specialized to the assessors,
Yeah.
and there's another special deal with and you really should wait for the assessors. 'Cause
Yeah, Cynthia has all of the information.
There's a special deal with the
Yeah.
government subsidizing the
Yeah.
transition and a whole bunch of other stuff there. So
Yeah.
that's another problem, but I think that's probably gonna be in pretty good shape. I don't know what other kind of software things you're thinking about besides those two.
Yeah, and I know, everything related to public safety is their own
Yeah,
separate entity. I get that. Yeah, I'm just, well, I mean, the Council on Aging, right? I mean, you guys were just talking about this particular software,
Database,
right?
yeah.
Is there, one, is it needed? Two, is there something else out there that makes more sense for the town, for the Council on Aging?
Yeah.
And we're not baked into this environment where it's just an automatic increase every single year.
Is it increasing
Well,
or is it
no,
pretty
no.
stable?
I think, and I think on the Council on Aging, because I remember being kind of part of the initial discussion, there really wasn't much out there, and this supposedly is very good.
Yeah.
It might be a little bit more than we need, but better that than, in 2 years having to buy something else. And I think the yearly cost is minimal. It's maybe like $100 or something for updates.
Yeah.
So I think that is really worth it. It's a way for them to build a database of all the seniors in town and needs, and, it's a resource that Lisa uses. I know you're talking about everyone, we have Vadar, that's the collections and accounting.
Yes.
And, we're tied to it. And every 3 years, the contract goes up.
Yeah.
And there's not much you can do.
You have to have an accounting system.
You have to have accounting and collections.
And I understand you guys
And
need,
out there in the market, it's really probably the best one for a town this size. There's one out
The
there
most
called Munis
affordable.
that's way over what we would need and very costly. So, yeah, I mean, every department kind of does have,
But if we didn't have it, what would happen? What would be the downside? Just take a limiting case.
well, for Vadar, if we didn't have it, we wouldn't be
I
able
mean,
to
the
collect
Council on
taxes,
Aging.
which is kind of huge.
Oh,
Oh, the Council on
Council on
Aging?
Aging. If
Well, I think they kind
Maybe
of,
could
should be
provide the
asking
services that
yeah, I think they,
are provided.
before Penny and some of the others had like an Excel spreadsheet, names and stuff, and I think this is much more comprehensive, and it really was short dollars for
Yeah.
what.
no,
It's just a roster.
it was in
No,
it's more comprehensive than that. I
think
can't
It has
speak in more
some
detail.
personal and confidential information, so it's got
Information.
security layers put on
Right.
top of it. I don't know a whole lot about it, but
Yeah.
I do know that it's a database maintaining information about the security, confidential information.
What was jarring my memory was what Donna just said, because they were before us last week, and it was a theme that I've heard over
Right.
time, but if that's what it is,
Yeah, it's,
Tom,
Is there a consolidated list of all of the software contracts, all the leases, and is it all under your department, Gary? Like,
No.
I had a discussion with Don because public
is not.
safety went out for some kind of a contract, and it was separate from you, I believe.
Yeah.
that's just MIS services, yeah.
Yeah.
Why isn't everything consolidated on one list in one location so they could be analyzed for savings, standardizing, maturation,
I think that might be something worth considering, but historically, unfortunately, there have been sort of pieces that evolved. In other words, I'm responsible for kind of a subset of everything, and that's what I focus on. Now, what you're talking about is it kind of makes sense if you're looking at it from a holistic standpoint. You want to try to understand where the overlap is, et cetera. We just haven't done that.
I mean, like last year, what advisory did with I think it was fuel and office supplies, that's what I recollect. Could we do the same thing with software contracts? A giant database of how old the computers are, when the software, and do it on a consolidated basis?
Yeah, the only negative, I have a bit of a negative reaction the following way. Each of these applications there's no generic application that can solve all the problems.
Right.
So, Vadar is a subset in and of itself. It's addressing a subset of the town's problems, okay? The permitting system, it's addressing a subset of the town problems.
But
So-
all hardware, network,
Well,
all of that could be consolidated.
I kind of have that, at least in terms of
The town.
the town
Except for
hall.
I mean, one person should be negotiating all the hardware, all the networking, all the maintenance of the networking.
That's me, but I do
Yeah.
that, that's what I do.
Yeah.
You know,
that's-
so, and I have data. For example, if anyone asks me anything about the warranty expiration date on a PC in town hall, I can get that for you.
Okay.
So I know all that stuff. But it's, again, it's limited to DPW, town hall, council on aging, town hall.
Everything from public safety.
And public, and
Why is
library.
public safety outside of that?
My understanding was that there's, especially with the police, their interface with federal and state databases is at a certain level.
That's,
that, like,
you're right,
They need
you're absolutely
They need a
right.
special contractor
That's a good
who
point.
handles
Yep.
that.
Yeah.
Yep, sorry.
Yep.
So there's a
Makes
special
sense.
situation.
But I can see, you know, a special contract or interface, but it still should be consolidated. And it still makes sure everything should be put out for the bid, there should be competitive bids. It should be, you know, if there's anything we can link it up or tie it up with, I mean, right across the board. So,
Well, yeah, no, so, Tom, I think I know where you're going with that, and I agree that, I mean, it would be nice to say, oh, okay, you know, we all can be involved in the conversation with Donna, because she's talking about Vadar, and we know what's going on, but just a master list of, oh yeah, we are in the first year of a 3-year with Vadar, when's the next RFP? Or if there's some software, you've got it all memorized, right? Or you got a list, but collectively, right? To Tom's
Yes,
point, with a
yes.
revolving door of advisory,
Right.
a revolving
Yes.
door of select, right?
That's a good point, yeah.
We started doing it 2 years ago with the equipment,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yep.
From a sense of what needs to be replaced,
Yep,
and then how do we go about doing it? Do
Right.
we buy it? Do we lease it? We went down the lease road.
yep.
Could you share a little bit of an update on where we are with that? Because, again, it seems like every year I'm always talking lease, and on various areas, the various individuals in town have convinced me that it does not make sense, right? In other cases, specifically with you,
Yeah.
we have learned that it does.
Yeah, it does make sense from the standpoint of, there's a bit of a price benefit. It's not as severe as we originally thought, but there is a bit of a price benefit. All the other factors associated with managing a tech refresh for equipment, it's kind of a wash. In other words, I lease now 20 PCs from ACS, for the library mostly, okay? Those come in, they have a basic operating system on them. I have to, you know, configure them, set up the new applications, et cetera, et cetera. If I purchase those, I do exactly the same kind of thing. So the real comparison is between kind of, from a financial management standpoint, every year I know exactly what my equipment costs are gonna be.
Exactly.
And that's very helpful.
And are
There's not a
we able
big-
to expand that past the library? Have we gone
Oh,
into?
yeah. Well, look, we're sort of getting ahead, because I talked a little bit about this. Remember, the philosophy was, I get the best value by extending warranties as much as possible, okay? So I have a bunch of PCs in different stages of warranty, all right? So the library happened to be, on every where I had a group of 20 PCs where the warranties expired at once. We bought them all at once when the library was built, okay? So that's under lease right now. I'm proposing, in fact, I'm budgeting in FY18 that 8 more PCs, mostly from the town hall, get added to lease. That's factored into my budget.
All right.
So over the next several years, as those warranties expire, I move those over to the
All
lease.
right.
So 3 or 4 years from now, we'll have basically all the PCs that I'm responsible for being under lease.
And I know we talked a little bit about this, right? Because we first determined, yes, it made sense.
Yep.
And then you said, you want to reserve judgment on moving past PCs.
To
in the sense
servers.
of servers, sense of copiers.
Right.
Where is your head with, on those?
Copiers, still need to think about that. But the servers, I did, the thing about the servers are, they're kind of a specialized configuration, and Dell, I can extend warranties on those for 7 years. So it's a little bit different situation. Last year, or 2 years ago when we were doing this, I just felt more comfortable with going one more cycle with purchasing servers. Now going forward, I got a feeling I'm gonna want to put everything on lease, just because everything's on it. It's all easily managed, it's all predictable.
Yeah, I mean, I go into my office and the printer, the photocopier is forever broken. And
Yeah.
the service guy is forever there.
Yeah, yeah.
What the hell do we want to do with that?
I think the copiers are probably an area that you might want to consider, consolidating and going back to leases.
Predictable is nice, but can we say that on a 3-year period or a 5-year period, we're paying less if we lease?
It's marginal. I think total cost of ownership, especially,
That's the word.
yeah, total cost of ownership. But the thing is that, as I tried to describe, TCO is not just the cost to buy the hardware, the cost to buy the software. There's all these other things involved, like, somebody's got to monitor it, manage it, configure it, blah, 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 all that stuff. So TCO really should consider all that stuff. But that's just too complicated. From a standpoint of buying hardware and software only, I think, especially with, there's a little bit of a deal at the end of the 4 years. We have a 4-year lease. And that is, they typically offer you to extend it for half price. So, you get it. But if we realize that, it will be a better deal from a standpoint of hardware and software pricing over 5 years.
Be nice to measure.
Yeah, well, I'll have the data, and we can take a look at it.
Where if we just measured on one computer, maybe 20 or 30, but if we had.
Well,
Yeah,
at the time, I mean, Ted, at the time of 2 years ago, at the time of moving from a buy to a lease, it was, not only did the town save money, the library got more computers than you were originally gonna propose on a buy.
Well, yeah.
I mean, it was a win-win all the way
Oh,
around.
I'm sorry, but
Yeah.
after you do a project, you.
Oh, absolutely.
You reflect on, did it deliver the.
No, absolutely, and I know this,
benefit?
there's somewhat of a limitation, because I think there's 2 organizations through the state in terms of.
Yeah, that's turned out to be okay to deal with, so
Yeah.
that's not a big issue. I think, yeah, let that one say.
Yeah. All right.
That's fine. So,
I'm sorry.
that's all right, any more discussion about leases?
Yeah. No, it's almost like, I don't know, I just need to get my fix in the given, night on mention the word lease, so I apologize.
No, I think that's great. So, in FY17, as I mentioned, a good deal more project work than I anticipated. One was the new phone system that's coming.
Yeah.
Now, that particular one,
When is that?
Sorry, Gary.
She'd like to get that.
I did some upgrades to the network, so it's not only do we have a better network, but not only are we prepared for the new phone system, all we have to do is bring the phones here, plug them in, and we're ready to go. But we've also improved our network infrastructure, so it's a kind of a double.
So is that, will we see that as a warrant article?
No.
No, it's
not
already been-
significant.
it's
Yes,
already
it's already. it's
So I'm gonna be able to move forward and I can talk to the town accountant without having to talk to the town treasurer? Nope.
Well, no.
You gotta talk to both of us, that's the deal.
We still only have one phone number.
Yeah.
But that's, you
But
know.
if you wanna
That's
leave
not
a message,
That's not
if you wanna
Gary.
leave a message though, you can press 1 for her or 2 for me.
Oh, all right,
That's
okay.
that's the.
We should just not.
Wow.
Standard.
All right.
No,
It's
it's
like the 21st
doable.
And I like both of them, but there's times I just wanna talk to one of them.
Now, will the new system?
Well, no, just,
I have a question about this system.
It's not worth it.
I got a call from someone in town hall today. I often don't answer phone calls if I don't recognize the name. This phone call said BPX blah, 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 blah. Bolt.
PBX.
PBX Bolt.
Verizon, yeah.
Yeah, so I answered it because it had the word Bolt in it, but I might as well have not.
You wasn't talking about us.
No, I wasn't.
I didn't call it.
No, but I really, if it said
Town of Bolton.
Town of Bolton, or if it said Town Secretary's Office, or whatever.
That should improve significantly with this new phone system.
Ah.
That PBX thing is, that we right now have a Verizon sort of PBX up in their system.
Right, okay.
And that's it's kind of old technology. And
That's what I thought.
Not only is the PBX switching old, but the cabling around here is
As is the
old.
building.
The mice are getting. Okay, so
Some people sitting in the room.
phone systems, that's one of the projects I was working on, the phone system. So that a little bit of extra business Gmail for town officials. Don asked me to do some special email for town officials. And I bet you guys know all about that.
Oh, yes.
Should I move forward quickly?
I would.
Yeah, probably a good idea.
Okay, repairs, a little bit more because of the miscellaneous tools for the network infrastructure, support. This is pretty standard. We have GIS software that we do annual maintenance on. I did get a very good deal for the Microsoft Office applications for the public library because I got charitable discounts. Web services, year-to-date, pretty much standard stuff. There's going to be a little bit of an increase because of the Gmail for town officials.
On software support, do you handle all of the software support at the library? Or, I mean, they have a line item, software support.
Is it CW Mars? Do you know?
Yeah,
Yeah, I think it is.
So-
It is.
Okay, yeah, I do not. There's kind of, I'm sorry if I ran.
Mobile systems.
I do not want to go backwards.
No, and they're not here to talk about it.
Yeah,
so I
right.
understand.
But it is CW.
It is CW Mars, that they provide a service different from mine, that's all. I'll leave it at that. I think that's it for FY17. Talk about the lease. Again, possible transfer request, don't know what it is until later.
All right.
Okay?
Does anyone have any questions for Gary? Any other? So Gary, the updated request is 40, is this right here?
Yes, that line.
42,380,
Yep.
300,
Yep.
2130, 13, for a total of 65,114.
Right.
Okay.
Yep.
I'll entertain a motion to approve MIS 155 with the updated request numbers that Gary has provided to us this evening for a total number of 65,114.
I so move. Second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed? All right. Thank you, Gary.
Thank you very much.
How we going, Gary? Yep. See you later. Take care.
Margie, how are you? Come on down. How are you this evening?
Good, how are you guys?
All right. All right, so this is ambulance, line 231. All right. So how have things been going so far this year in 17?
So far, so good.
Excellent. And it looks as though for FY18, you're proposing the same as 17.
Yeah, so I level funded everything. I think that there's two areas we should probably look at. And then I wanted to talk about some potential changes with numbers and.
Me too.
Yeah, good. So the two areas I think we should look at, the biggest one being the ALS services, which I've had to come back for the last 2 years. And that's basically where we pay a flat fee for ALS if they intercept with us and transport, and then we bill it on the back end. So our call volume has gone up for ALS calls. They're closer, they're easier to intercept with, so we're intercepting with them more. So while the rate that what we're sending out within this budget is more, we're actually recouping it on the back end.
Okay.
So for the last 2 years, I've had to come back. It's been significantly higher than we have budgeted for. So
So it's, the number's going up, but at the same time, it is being reimbursed, but the whole timing, it's fallen into the.
Yeah, so it goes into the receipt reserve account.
So is it fair to say that if that's the case and we have a specific ambulance receipts reserve fund to account for the ambulance, that we might be able to push, I think we're looking every 5 years, we can maybe push that to 6, because I'm assuming the wear and tear on the ambulance isn't what it used to be?
I would, so the two are not, they're not tied together. So if, the more we go out, the greater the wear and tear on the ambulance.
Sure, but you're not going out as far, right?
No, oh, they're coming to us.
Yeah.
So the way that it works is that, but we both, we transport in our ambulance, which is why we pull it up on the back end. So when if we call ALS, they'll meet us wherever the scene is. We transport in our ambulance.
So a person hops into your...
Yes, and that's...
What the?
Yeah, and so that's why we bill for it. So we, you know, obviously we're using their services, so we pay for it, but we recover it on the back end. So it's not like if they were to take the patient, which happens every now and then, they own the billing. We don't do any billing for it. So we would not pay them.
So help me understand the difference. Why would they take the person?
There's a couple of times.
Why would you grab that person and stick them in your ambulance and then you take them?
Us taking them is the traditional way, that's industry standard. Basically, they come, they intercept with us. A time that they may take us is if we don't have a crew, our ambulance is unavailable, they're calling ALS anyways, let's not pull another town in, so they may take the patient. Or if we have multiple patients, and we've done it before, so we've had 2 patients, one's an ALS patient, one's a BLS patient.
Is that the situation on Green and Sampson on Saturday? There was 3 ambulances there. Road was closed.
I don't know.
No, all right.
Yeah, I can't.
Okay. I'm just trying to understand all this.
But yeah, so, in that case, we would take the BLS patient, they would take the ALS patient, they would bill for their own services, they would not send us a bill. So they're not tied together.
Okay. All right, so you mentioned something about the overall budget is level funded, but looking for a discussion on rearranging things, one of them being ALS.
Well, ALS, I think we should look at. I think I did not increase it because the directive was to level fund, but the reality is it's very likely that I will be back looking for more money.
So I did this, and this doesn't really mean anything, but, so, I know you're gonna talk about rolling all these up, but if we rolled some of them up together, and, you know, we can talk about what you wanna do, and I also said the same thing, should this be increased? You know, decrease this one and increase this one. But this is just it's just ideas, if you wanna talk about, like you said, rolling up some of those line items.
We had kicked around a number, Margie, of 30,000 for ALS, from 18 to 30.
Yeah, that seems more reasonable.
I think that that's reasonable. And, you know, it's entirely possible, I know you guys have in the past taken money from the reserve and put it right into some budget figures. You know, I'm wondering if, I think in the past it's been kind of a random number. I'm wondering if that line item isn't a decent number to use, you know? Because we know we're recouping that on the back end.
I think what goes hand in hand, and Margie gave it something for Ninotchka and myself to look at, is the ambulance collection policy. We do use an outside company, Coastal Billing. The auditor actually, for the second time, mentioned the collection policy. We have a lot of old collections. And I think the contract was settled long before I got here. But whether it's, you know, Margie and the ambulance going back and I think maybe reevaluating some of the collections. There's a lot of money that's out there, and when do we write it off and say it's uncollectible? We do have, my brief conversations with them, we do have somewhat control over what we want done with our account.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that, on the side, that we'll take a look at to see if we can pump that number up a bit.
So when we discussed, when we started the billing, basically, we had a conversation in this room about why we were gonna be billing and what do we wanna do about collections. And the idea is not to make money, it's to,
Cover expenses.
Offset funding the ambulance. So the decision was to be very lenient with collections. We still have to follow Medicare policies. We have to bill people, it doesn't matter. We still have to bill them. We have to follow all the policies. But then do we want to take it a step further? And the selectmen at the time, I think Stan, you were probably one of them, and I definitely know that Ken was, when we made this decision, decided that that's not what we wanted to do. Because we never wanted people to trade their care for a bill. And we see that all the time. We see people say, I don't want to go to the hospital because I'm worried about the bill. And that's heartbreaking to me.
Yeah.
Because I don't want that to be, if I feel that they need to go to the hospital, I don't want that to be the reason. So having said that, we have adjusted for rates. Just recently, actually, Medicare sends out their fee schedule. So I looked at what all the surrounding towns were and I adjusted our rates accordingly. So we actually will probably see an increase in what we bring in. But again, it's just to offset the cost of running an ambulance. It's not to make money.
Yeah, so I think what the auditor was looking for is a policy saying if something's uncollectible at 120 days or 160 days, then write it off. He didn't like seeing pages and pages of uncollectible.
I think he wants a timeline.
He's looking for a policy.
So,
And I think,
so do we
without
have
being
one?
super, no, well, not really. Without being super aggressive, I think maybe we can up it a little, but to have a written policy so that Coastal knows to take off their sheets.
So the other thing
auditor
is
sees
that
it.
Coastal's rate is based on what they bring in.
Exactly.
So
So it's advantageous for them.
Right, they're working these accounts.
Right.
There's nothing, I actually worked in medical billing for a long time, and when I first started, I went through what they were doing, and I would have done absolutely everything that they had done.
Yeah.
So I feel pretty comfortable that they're out there looking and
I know there were a few bounce checks that kind of fell into Neverland.
Yeah.
They said to me, oh, well, why don't you collect them? And it's like, it's your account. I don't know anything about the people
So-
we're going after, so.
So, Ken is working on some overall policies for the whole GFOA work that we're doing. And I know this is a little outside the bounds of that,
Yeah, I
but
think that's pretty much outside.
I definitely think you guys should definitely get something in writing.
Yeah.
And-
Well, I
and
think
so
we can
just-
get.
So it is more clear cut.
Yeah, I think we can look at some of the run reports that Coastal sends every month, and we can say, because some of them are probably, I don't know, a year and they're still on there. And that's what the auditor said, why do you still have this? Write it off or collect it,
Yeah.
So I think we can clean up the sheet so that the auditor will be happy for next year, and then have a written policy.
Yeah, and I just we had the policy was going back and forth for a long time, and it was one of those things.
So we'll work on that with Margie on the
I
side.
don't know what the electronic version is, but I found the paper copy.
Yeah.
Well, that's
so-
good, that's
Yeah,
good.
that's
It can
fine.
always be retyped.
How is the compensation to Coastal determined? In other words, $6,500 a year estimated.
Yeah, it's
Does that
just,
collect $65,000 or $650,000?
it's a percentage. I don't know the percentage off the top of my head, but it has not increased since.
Is it a low percentage?
It's a fairly, so it hasn't increased in 12 years. So we've been going for 12 years, and they haven't had an increase in their rate.
And is the rate applied to what they actually collect?
Yes,
Not
yes.
what's.
Not
due
what,
or anything like that?
nope, it's what they actually bring in. So I actually brought some of we get monthly reports like these that just basically tell us what the commitment is, what they've brought in, and, adjustments and stuff
Do
like
they
that.
age the account on that report?
They don't. I get another one that does age accounts,
Yeah.
but.
And that's, I think, what the auditor was looking at.
Yeah, I don't necessarily want to go to the step to go to collections.
No.
But, I do agree that we should just write them off. I have been hesitant to do that because we didn't have a formal policy.
Yeah.
So they do ask me quite often. We write these off, and, you know. But they're like a year old. It's in their best interest too. And some of these accounts can actually age pretty far. Medicare is a 6-month file time, so.
That's what I was gonna ask about, because, well, we used the ambulance once, and, gosh, it was at least 6 months before we got the bill.
Yeah. Yep. So it's a 6-month file time. So
You shouldn't have less than.
Right. You know, because first they build the insurance company.
That's
And
right.
now, it's developed where Medicare, Blue Cross, Tufts, and a few others, they have it set up so it's automatically deposited in the account. We don't even get checks anymore.
Ah.
We get very few checks. Most of them are like a personal balance that someone might have to pay, a copay, or a few kind of very small insurance companies. Everything else is direct deposited right into
I think
the
this was before
ambulance reserve.
When my wife and I were both on Medicare, so.
Yeah.
that's pretty-
Yeah, it depends.
Yeah.
Each insurance company is different, and, you know, there is a little bit of lag time, so we send in our run sheets probably to Coastal, probably bi-weekly or once a month, depending on how many runs we go out for the month. And then they may have to get some paperwork back, and then, you know, so, but, you know, the insurance, and that's one of the reasons, the insurance game can take a long time, and that's one of the reasons that we pay the ALS upfront, because we were doing it such that we would bill it out, and when we collected it, then we would send them the portion, but that could be in a different fiscal year. So we were asked to stop doing that, obviously, and there's, with insurance, there's just no way to get around that, so that's why we pay them upfront.
Okay. So, do you have certain suggestions or proposals, Ninochka, that you want to take us through?
Well, I'd like to see, and tell me what you think about this, Margie, 5113 and 5116 rolled up into 5112. Because I'm not sure why there's so many line,
Yeah,
you know,
so-
no other department has so many wage line items.
So a couple, I actually want to do something a little bit different. So the reason that they're separated out is that we wanted to make sure, we wanted to be able to look at the full-time firefighter EMT line versus the rest of the call personnel.
So Dave's line.
So Dave, yes.
So he's 5114,
That's
right?
different, yeah.
So he's 5114.
Yep.
But then we also, because people were interested in looking at overtime or extra duty or whatever, that was where 5115 came from. What I'd like to see done, and I think I've talked to John about this briefly in the past. I did run it by Jerry. I haven't had a chance to talk to it in depth with John. I'd like to just do a different line item entirely that fire and EMS own for the full-time employee. Because right now, I think there's, 20 codes that he puts down on his pay?
It's a payroll nightmare.
We split it, so basically, every day, he comes in and he puts in 4 hours ambulance, 4 hours
Yeah.
fire.
And I have to enter that for
Yeah.
80 hours. So you
I'd
can
like to
imagine
do-
sometimes he is.
Yeah.
And then a penny goes awry and you're killing
Yeah.
yourself for 2 hours looking for
But
it.
before we get to Dave, if we could just do.
Well, I
like,
think,
the
I think those
114
two
line
will-
is-
those two will go away if we moved Dave's stuff. 114 and 115 would
Right.
go away.
So are you saying, would they go to fire's budget?
Well, no, that's what, I would like to do something similar to what we have with the 200 lineup. Yeah, I think we should. I think we should add, something that John and I both oversee, similar to what we have for the public safety building. And basically, it's just the full-time employee in one section.
Like a new department?
Yeah, he'll have one set of codes, and we can track everything under that.
Yeah, well, I mean, I like the salary, if it could be whole, even if it's just done at the accounting level, Ninochka can split it 50/50. I do think it makes sense for the overtime to be separate, because I have to charge that separate for his retirement. And I know that can probably be done separate. Yeah, I mean, we've wanted it done that way for a long time. And the thing is, we could do it on the accounting end. So whether one or the other of you gets all of Dave, and then Ninochka just splits it
Yeah,
accounting
so-
wise.
Well, we did have it originally in my line item. I had the whole
Yes,
thing.
years back.
And that just became problematic because now my budget looked higher than it really was, and I was basically covering some of fire's costs. So if you looked at fire and EMS combined, it looked like I had a heck of a lot more than fire did. So, and there were a few other little things like, callback and, why am I paying for, an 8-hour fire shift, an 8-hour fire, structure fire, that kind of thing.
Yeah. It's just
So-
really burdensome on the payroll end. So,
I'd
I mean,
rather
I
not
think
have
one-
another department.
I'd rather not have another department. I think one or the other of you has to kind of maybe suck it up and say, okay, you'll have all of it, but at the year end, Ninochka will break the
Move
50%.
out into the other.
So we don't have to do it every payroll.
How are we gonna
That's-
keep track of that? Because, he gets down to the nitty gritty as to, when it gets tricky to call back and overtime.
I see what you're saying, on each payroll, it's not like it's just a
Right.
straight salary, it's
Yeah.
each
Right.
hour,
If it was-
that's true, that's a
yeah.
good point.
Yeah.
And it's,
That wouldn't be easy to.
Yeah, I mean, we can look at that, but I think if we could go back and look at the first numbers that Ninochka had, the 5112, the 5113, the 5116, and also under your services, that cadet EMT training, that's
Oh,
wages.
yeah, I was gonna put that up there.
That has to
Yes,
go,
so that was-
it's been
yes,
wages,
that
and when
has-
I looked at it, that has to go
Yeah,
up
that
to
has
the top.
move. Yeah,
So if you added those four, and then kept Dave separate, and we can figure out what to do with him, that would clean up a little bit of it.
Yeah, so, I totally, cadet EMT training, that definitely needs to move, and the reason that only happened last year. So it originally was going to it's still going to the cadet program, but the school asked us to take over
Right, 2
paying
years
the
ago, yeah.
wages. So we had that.
Yeah, and I didn't
turns
realize
out-
that it was under your purchase of
Yeah.
services, so that should definitely be moved up to
Yeah.
wages. So if we collapse those four, the 5112, the 5113,
So Dawn and I
5116.
talked a little bit, so let's go through them individually. 5112.
Yeah, so you guys are saying cadet EMT training moves up to
Wages.
112?
Yeah,
That's-
because I don't think you need to break it out.
Yes,
No,
we
I-
need to break it out. We absolutely need to break it out because it's a separate, it's half of this, it's half of the department or the half of the program, and the school pays the second half. I mean, we've always historically had it broken out. So it's, what I would do if we moved that is I would put it up with the EMT coordinator, because that's the same thing. So basically now you have the entire program in one line item. And they're both wages.
we're trying to collapse it, not, I mean, so that's just
I know,
collapsing
but
two
I
where we
so I
were
don't
hoping
understand
for.
why we would have collapsed it. Like, Dawn and I even talked about.
But do you look at the reports monthly? Because when you did your budget breakout, there was no breakout that way.
Well, I just don't understand why EMT coordinator needs to be a separate.
Well,
line.
it doesn't have to be. It was historically because it was under the selectmen's budget, believe it or not, a long time ago.
That I would definitely roll up, because that's just one.
Yeah.
If Mike is saying she wants the EMT training to be included.
All right, so how about we at least, can we get agreement on EMT training going up to EMT coordinator? Can we get agreement on that?
What, you mean 5113 into 5112?
No.
Yeah.
He's saying
5784.
I'm getting the sense that we're gonna have to do this in stages.
5113.
So, can we get cadet training and salary EMT coordinator? Can are we good on that? Getting that
Yeah.
online?
But again, your explanation page and your front page don't match.
So I moved that down to
Yeah.
4,800.
The explanation
Based on
page
the
you have
back.
at 13,820. When you look at your
Yes,
detail,
because-
it's 14,500.
My detail?
The detail
Yes,
page?
because they're different. So it's not that, at 13,820 doesn't cover the entire amount. We pull in, remember there was like $700 difference from the way that the school wanted to do it, so that we created the revolving fund for that, and we transfer in $700 from the revolving fund
Is that yearly, or wasn't that a one-time thing?
No, we have a revolving fund for the
Okay.
program.
Oh, is that for like the
Like the
CPR?
program fees.
The program fees, or-
No.
Yeah, it's a program, so it's the adults pay their program fees, and then we take the $700 from there, and we put it in to cover the.
Is the school at all involved in the cadet training program then?
Yes, they fund the other 13,820. So we are.
That's the reason why we get to listen to them on making suggestions on what we are.
Correct.
So where do they pay that? How do they pay that?
So the cadet coordinator handles all of that, and basically they'll pay for like assistant instructor fees, that kind of thing.
Oh,
any kind of
so we don't
equipment.
see it?
We don't see the money.
No,
Okay.
it doesn't come through us.
Whose program is this? The cadet EMT training program? Whose is it?
It is co-owned by Neshoba and Bolton. So originally it was all through Neshoba. Neshoba wanted to nix it. Bolton said, no, we value this program immensely.
Okay, so then why don't we just take it over? Okay, I don't, this whole commingling of joint responsibility, to me, is just ripe for just,
So are you gonna give me
pay
another,
more.
you're gonna give me another $13,000?
we're paying for it right now, it's in the school budget.
I'm okay with
No,
that.
but, Brad, if I may,
Go ahead.
Brad, can I, for a second?
Absolutely.
From the very beginning, the cost of the EMT program was split between the town and the school. Now, you've got to have it shown separately. It would be a big mistake to bury that somewhere else. You've got to know what it is, because for one thing, it's what the school uses, what the EMT program uses in its budgeting to figure out the half that the school pays and half that the town pays. And I don't see what advice you to do with it. It's an item that you can explain. It's an item that the public will understand, and it's a good thing. And there's no reason, I see no reason nothing is to be gained in my opinion.
Okay, so let me answer the question. The budget, the line item in Margie's budget for cadet EMT training is $13,820. So what you guys are saying is the other half is paid by the school.
Yes.
That's correct.
Why?
In soft dollars?
Three
But
towns.
if-
Oh, it's
if-
three towns.
If we take,
Yeah.
so if that's the case, then my understanding is the cadet EMT training program has a total cost of $27,640.
Plus the EMT coordinator.
Plus the EMT coordinator.
Okay.
So then how does that
So,
money come in?
all right,
It
hold on.
doesn't come into us.
So,
It doesn't
never
come
see
into
it.
us.
Okay.
When the $13,000 of
Goes
expenditures,
to the school.
Brad, if you're
Yeah,
running
they
this
pay it.
program, I would rather do it in person when I'm there, because I think you're going up the wrong, I think you're going down a rabbit hole that you don't need to go down. And I'd really rather take some time to explain the whole thing, its history and everything else to you, if that's what you need, in order to understand what the program is.
No,
Margie, we're okay about combining those two.
It is a wonderful program that really works, and it's cheap to the town and it's cheap to the school. Don't mess with it.
We're not
But if you
talking
do
about.
want to mess with it, I want to be there.
We're not.
I am,
I think he's reacting to us
We're-
taking over
Yes.
the whole.
Oh,
So-
let's table that discussion.
Yeah, that's
no,
different.
so I am not looking to scrap this at all.
No, not at all.
I am simply looking at math. And I understand the EMT coordinator, 5734. I understand the cadet EMT training program at 13,820. So the all-in cost is 13,820 times 2, plus the EMT coordinator, 5734. That's a total number of 33,374.
Now, Margie, is it,
Now,
I'm sorry, is it 5734 or
What
4800?
I'm saying to you, though, is that
if the program, I want to know why the 33,370 is not divided by 3.
Because, so historically, we didn't always have the program coordinator. The town, the school it actually, the program was actually run pretty much by the superintendent at the time. When the superintendent left, we experienced a lot of issues with coordinating the program. The town decided that it was in our best interest to, they report to me, to employ a program coordinator to coordinate everything. And basically, their job is to go between, you know, us and the school and the state and get all of that straightened out. So that's why, you're right, it's not exactly 100% split. There's also probably a few other things, like the school pays for all the fuel for the cadet car. We historically supply the cadet car, but they pay all the fuel for it. There's other little nuances like that, so it's not a 50-50 split, but for what we're getting out of it, it's a really good deal.
And the coordinator position should be 4,800.
So the coordinator position, yeah.
Yeah, that's,
so
and that's not reflected here, so that should.
Correct. So the, what had happened with the coordinator position is we had a long-term coordinator in there. That stipend had been COLA'd. When we hired a new one this year, we started her off at the rate that we had started the original.
So that would be 4,800 plus any COLA that's voted on?
No,
Oh, no.
it should not be COLA.
Oh, it's not?
No,
Okay.
stipends are not typically COLA, and there's no other stipends within fire or EMS that are COLA. That was the only stipend that was COLA. So,
It was decided some years ago under, I think under Don, it decided to go do a COLA on that.
yeah. So, that's the only one that has ever been. So, if we want to continue calling it, I don't have a problem with that, but we need to call all the other stipends.
Right.
You know, it's one or, it's.
Yeah, no, I have no problem not calling it.
So also, don't forget, guys, I mean, you know, I see where you're going, Brett, it's not necessarily an equity split, but also don't forget, the EMTs that participate in this and go on calls are pretty much going on calls in Bolton.
In Bolton.
Okay, they're not going to calls in Stowe. Right.
Okay.
That's Lancaster.
Yeah.
So, you know, so while we may, at the end of the day, be paying a little bit more, we're getting almost 100% use of the EMTs, both during the school year and those EMTs that participated in working with the DPW during the summer months. that are
And it feeds our squads. I mean, probably 50% of our squads, myself included, were cadets, so.
And I'm just, there's so many different little combing, well,
Yeah,
we'll
I
do
know,
this,
I
but
know,
then the school's gonna do that. And it just, it seems like a mess, that's all.
Yeah, so I want to just
So-
say,
It's not. And it's well documented, if you would like to have the documentation, since we're talking about policies and stuff, it is well documented and we can provide that to you.
and so for this year, just to point out, so we did drop the current program coordinator down to 4,800. We also, as a gap, have a $500, and this, I went through this with Dawn, stipend to the person at the school. We have a school sponsor, what are they called? She's like our.
I know what you mean.
Yeah, so she's.
Not mascot.
Yeah, no.
So, the bottom line is, currently, line 5113 should be 4,800. Is that?
Yes, for the next year, yes.
Well,
Okay.
can we, but I thought you said we could move up the cadet training money up with that.
Well, should we agree on the numbers and then
Yes.
decide?
Where-
That's where I'm trying.
Yeah, I think, yeah.
So let's start at the top.
Yeah, so $4,800 is.
Okay, go to nine.
All right, so for 5112, I was proposing 46,700 instead of the 60, based on.
You were proposing 76,000.
Yeah.
Oh, well, that includes.
That includes 4 different lines.
Yeah, so, but which we're not doing.
Okay.
So if we just go back to the 60, I was looking at 46.7 based on the current run rate and prior historical. So
Turnbacks.
lowering that and upping the ALS number.
So 5113 is 48.
Well, so keep in mind, so I don't disagree with you. We've played around with the $60,000 number a lot. because our call volume and our responders are so up in the air, we don't know. We could have 2 people respond to a call, we could have 4 people respond to a call. We try very hard to kind of police it. We don't, a lift assist, we don't need, 5 people to show up. A code, we do need 5 people to show up. And so, I'm hesitant to drop the numbers. We've been, this line item specifically, I had to come back 3 years in a row to get money.
But for the ALS.
For the ALS, but no, that was, nope, that was, the last 2 years I had to come back from ALS. But the 3 years prior, we were having a problem with this line specifically.
Because I've had turnbacks for the last 3 years.
Correct.
Right.
Correct.
So 20,000, 18,
We've been working on
17.
that, so reducing it slightly is not necessarily a problem, but I don't want to reduce it, or we just need to keep in mind that we've struggled with this.
Right.
Yeah.
I just want to treat this department the same as the library. I don't want people to think I'm going after one
Exactly,
group.
and we showed a historic trend of turnbacks for them, and I think Ninochka showed it the same for this, and that's why
Yeah, the
we were
difference,
thinking that the
the
46.7.
difference is I cannot estimate my call volume.
Right,
You know,
but I think,
The library is relatively stable, right? My call volume goes up and down, and
but we were just saying that, look at, budget it there, look at it, and then come back.
Yeah.
I think they would rather have a little tighter budgeting and then monitor
and
it.
I'm okay with that, I just,
So that's the only reason we did, because we did the 3-year historic.
Right, so it was 43, it was 41, it was 38, it's
Yeah.
never been close to
So-
60.
So I want to just, 5112, I want to explain what's in there. So our training stipends are in there. Any call personnel that shows up is in there. The other thing that's in there is all of our stipends. So director stipend, assistant director stipend, all of the stipends are in there. So.
Can we ask a question on the stipends?
Sure.
On your list, you have 2 things that we had questioned on. One, where you're a department that doesn't schedule. Why do you have a scheduling stipend?
Because
It's never kind of made sense.
yeah, we've always had it, because we don't schedule our employees unless Dave takes a day off or the cadets are on vacation. So we have a person who goes in and she sends out emails and makes phone calls and finds people to cover those shifts. If we don't have those shifts covered, we don't have EMTs in town.
Okay.
So
That
that's
explains
what
that.
Yeah.
Now, you also listed an additional assistant director.
Yeah, so we've always
Why?
had, because we've always had 2 assistant directors. It's not filled, but we have.
I was going to say, because I've never, in the
Who was the
11 budget years, I've never seen it.
So right now, it's not filled. I have 1 assistant director, but I've always had 2 positions. And the reason I've always had 2 positions is that was the way that the squad wanted it, but we also followed suit with what the fire department was doing. So at some point, they've not since added lieutenants, but at one point, that's what we had. The only thing we had extra was a scheduling person. So that's.
So all those things haven't changed over the years yet, so that wouldn't, all right, so
Yeah.
based on what Ninochka was doing with the averages and the run rates, I think that you
It
could
would be
go.
consistent, right?
It could be consistent.
Yeah,
Go to the
but,
46.7.
so, John and I had specifically had a conversation as to whether or not that should be in a different line item, the stipends.
I don't think so.
Whether or not the
No.
stipends should be
Yeah,
with.
Because they're
More-
easy enough to track. 'cause
yeah,
they're
more
one-
line items are very difficult, Margie, to pay, to track.
That's fine,
Yeah.
I know we've been trying to break things out, so
Yeah.
that's.
But I would rather see it like $1,000 stipend is
Yeah.
pretty easy just to pull out.
Yeah.
You know what it is, it's one payment, or if it'd be,
It's also, it's easier for you to see that those stipends are not gonna change, right? So they're not going to be those, I suppose if my assistant director leaves, then he's not gonna get paid his stipend.
Right.
But that's gonna
Still stay in
be
the
for the
budget.
year. That's not called dependent. That's not a
Oh, yeah.
variable number.
Oh, right, no, no,
It's
no.
in there, yeah.
Oh,
Just
absolutely.
on a side note to that, since you're here, I'm just wondering, when you go about figuring that out, do you assume 52 weeks out of the year?
For the stipend?
Yeah, for the
No,
salary.
we do it monthly.
You do it on an average call rate, right? Run rate or whatever. How do
Wait, you said stipend, right? Are you talking about stipend?
I'm talking,
The whole budget.
here's the example, right? You got this guy at, a certain number of hours at a certain rate.
Yes, that's our full-time employee.
Exactly.
That's the
So,
Yeah, so that's.
do you assume 52 weeks out of the year?
He's salaried. He's a salaried.
Oh,
No, he's not salaried, but he's a
salaried.
full-time
I-
employee.
I do the
He gets 4
two-
weeks
the-
vacation.
The
All right,
2000.
fine, that example.
2000.
Yeah, they don't have anybody that kind of falls into that category.
Just trying to get a sense
I know.
of what makes sense.
Yeah.
None of this makes sense.
So, seeing how you're generally in front of us every May or June anyways, and the historical run rate on 512, 5112 has been, 43, 41, 38. I mean, am I hearing, can we look at like a 45 number as opposed to 60?
I'd go a little bit higher.
We went 46.7.
Okay.
Kind of random, but-
About 47. I took
And
47. I
take-
took half of this year. and
And
doubled it.
some of that would also move down to ALS, because I do think we need
Yes,
to bump
that
that
needs to-
up.
Yes.
Is
Yeah,
that-
and that's, I
can
mean,
we-
that's what I've typically done is remember we have done the transfer and.
Yeah.
But then there's the $5,000 limit and, yes.
No,
Not
that's
anymore, it
the
went
way,
away.
Margie.
Yeah,
It's
that went
unlimited
away.
now.
So we
There's
have a
no-
lot
Keep
more.
it as it is and
No.
I'm happy.
No, see, there's no 3% anymore,
Which
it's
is,
unlimited.
awesome.
You can go from wages to
Right.
services.
It gives
and
us
back
a
and
lot
forth.
more flexibility in where we can move money.
Yeah.
Let's not forget, remember last year we had the discussion where we were talking about reducing one of the wage line items, but what about we did vote to increase the.
Yes,
The,
yes.
the, per call
Right, so
to
that's,
20
so,
bucks and 40
yeah.
dollars for 2
Yeah,
hours.
and that's just
So-
250 extra that can be absorbed, I think, easily.
Yeah, so this year, I guess we should just look at what we're running at
Right, because
this
we're paying
year.
that started as of
We
July
started.
1, right?
Yeah, so-
So I did take
Oh,
that
okay,
into
the run rate for
okay,
half
sure,
year,
okay,
yeah.
Okay, okay, just make sure.
And what, you looked at the run rate and then,
through the last payroll, through January 4th.
and then doubled it, and that number was okay then?
Okay.
Yeah, I'm okay coming back and asking for money, I always feel bad, but it's like,
Don't feel
honestly,
bad.
yeah, at the end of the year, I start to like sweat bullets, honestly, every time the tone goes off, I.
So
Margie-
And then I'm like, don't let it be an ALS call.
No, Margie, believe me, I think we all understand
Yeah,
what you're thrown, which is, who knows what is going to happen,
right.
right? So,
A good
But-
blizzard can cost me $3,000.
yes, but again, we want to try and get, and we want to put forth a number that makes sense,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And
What
so,
if you reduce it by 12 and then up ALS by 12?
Yeah, and that's what I would do.
I can, yeah.
And I think you might not even see Margie come May.
so therefore, 5112,
Come next May.
That's-
This May, I'm probably gonna.
Yeah,
so I'd like to try and get through this,
Yeah,
we've been, so 5112 is going to go to 40,
48,000.
48,000.
Yeah.
Okay. We're gonna take ALS and go from 18 up to 30.
Yeah.
Right.
And so then the
513 is 4,800.
Yep.
And are we gonna add, again, the cadet training? It's gotta go up to wages. Does it make sense to add that into the 5113? And then you have all your cadet stuff together. Is that what you would want?
That's how I envision it.
Okay.
Okay, so 13,820 actually gets added on to the 4,800.
Yep.
So that line is now 18,620. Cadet training is 0. Okay.
So for now, we'll keep the 5114 and 5115 to Dave unless we can come up with some brilliant idea as to what to do with him.
Yeah,
So his number should go up though.
Yeah, his salary was short, what it needed to be.
what do you mean?
It needs-
So I never put in the increase.
Right, it was, yeah.
Well, there's.
It was just last year.
Yeah, there's no COLA, it needs to go to 32,552.
Yes, Ken?
Are you proposing that the EMT training line become part of the salary, of the
No.
502 salary?
No, the 5113.
The coordinator.
Just the coordinator and the cadet, that's it.
But, so you changed the time on it?
Yeah, because the school asked us to pay out the salaries for the instructors. They were having some issue with taxes. So instead of just pooling and paying like we had been, basically the salaries come, we're paying the salary for the instructors. So it,
Okay, then.
Yeah, so
You should also realize that it is not necessarily just salary that it goes to, that there are other expenses.
no, it does,
Some of
it,
that money
It's all salary.
it does now. So we used to take the money and we used to, it would get pulled into Neshoba and they would use it for whatever. Now, we actually run the instructor's salary through our payroll.
We have been doing it for 3 years.
I understand that, but all I'm saying is that isn't some of the
No.
13,280 not for salary?
Nope, that's all 100, it's actually $700 less
Yes.
of the salaries. It just happened to work that way. Yeah.
So, but to Ken's point, the 5113 can be maybe titled salary EMT coordinator.
I would put cadet.
Cadet.
Yeah, EMT cadet.
I would say, cadet stuff.
Can we just do EMT cadet?
Yeah, I don't have to say
EMT
salary,
cadets.
I'm just gonna
Okay.
say EMT cadet program.
Okay,
Yeah.
fine,
Something like
perfect.
that.
All right.
Now, okay, so you did Dave. Now, is that 5115?
Wait, so go back to you said that it was short, it should be what, 32?
32,552. Without a COLA, obviously.
Yeah, and then the 8,000 is good.
And that was
Oh,
based,
800, I'm sorry.
was that based just on a step raise, or was that?
No, he's at 10. I think it was calculated, did
Yeah.
you say incorrectly?
Well, that's just using last year's.
Yeah.
So what he's actually being paid right now is 32,55192.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
And then, so 5115, is that his overtime?
Yep.
Okay.
That's his any training for,
Can I just call it overtime?
yes.
I think part of my
Well,
issue is all of the line items are very similarly named. So it's like, when you're putting in payroll, it's like, what is this again? What, it's like,
Yeah.
it's overtime.
So the only problem with calling it overtime, so they specifically didn't want to call it overtime, whatever, because it's like a dirty word, but
I see what
they did, the problem with calling it overtime is it's not exactly overtime because he's a firefighter, he doesn't, after 40 hours a week, that's not overtime
I
for
see.
him. So he
I
has a
see.
different, so he has callback, he has extra duty, and that's based
I
on
see.
basically how a firefighter.
It's FLSA.
Yeah.
Right. But yeah, but we have to be very careful because what's overtime and what's not, overtime is not pensionable. So I can't have any wiggle room, or else when he retires, and whoever's here is gonna have a nightmare
Yeah.
trying to figure out what he earns. And
So.
Worcester Retirement probably has no idea about what a nightmare it already is to untangle. Because
that's why he has all the
ambulance
codes,
is not
yeah.
treated as fire is. So anything over 40 that's charged to ambulance is overtime for him.
So are you
Not the
guys on the 550?
It's, see,
No,
this is.
no, that's not
Yes,
true.
it is true, Ronnie.
That's not supposed to be true.
It-
We sat down and we went through all of this, and there
Who
was a
sat down?
policy, Jody, Dave, myself.
Maybe she
and-
didn't realize.
Maybe she didn't realize because.
He's a firefighter EMT, so that's his job description, is firefighter EMT. Based on that job description, there was a discussion about how many hours he worked before he was eligible for overtime.
Right, but what I'm saying is, as far as Worcester Regional Retirement is concerned, police and fire fall under FLSA. He has the 118 hours or whatever it is. Ambulance is 40, anything over, overtime, not pensionable.
Oh, okay, but I thought they were talking about rate.
No, and that's why we can't be, oh, it's kind of overtime, so that has
No,
to be
well,
pretty
so,
clear.
right,
Give it a-
and we have all those codes, and that was what you had asked, that we reduce those
right,
codes,
right.
but more and more, it sounded like unless we move it to a different department,
Right,
we can't do that.
right, right,
Yeah.
right.
Okay.
All right, so if I'm hearing you guys correctly, the 5115. It's gonna remain at 8,800, but
Yes.
the question is, it should just be retitled something differently?
Yeah, we'll have to.
All right, so you guys will figure that out, and these things will be updated, okay. All right, so just to recap, we're at 48,000 on the first line. 513 is 18,620, 14 is 32,552, 15 is 8,800, and 16 is 12. You want to do something there?
I want to know what 5116 is.
Okay.
So that is anytime we cover any vacation, sick time for Dave, or any time that we cover vacation, or any time that the cadets are not running.
So here's my
shifts.
question, why can that not be in 5112?
I guess it could be in 5112, that's
I
fine.
just don't
by
see the
me.
need to break out vacation coverage.
That would be good.
Yeah, another.
That's fine.
Okay, good, thank you.
Yay!
All right, so we're back to 60.
Yeah.
So much for doing one thing at a time.
Isn't that weird, that 12,000 just keeps circling?
The rest should be relative.
That's too funny.
Okay. Good.
All right, stop now. Just stop
Yes,
and
good.
take a vote, go.
That's all.
Yes,
Right.
yes.
And I don't care about any of the expenses, that's all I care about with the wages, so.
Yeah, I think.
You guys
It-
can
again,
talk about that.
No, I don't have an issue with that, I mean, it's been tightened up. Okay. So real quickly, it's 60,000 on 12, 18,620, 13, it's 32,552 on 14, 8,800 on 15, 0 on 16. The other change is ALS services goes from 18 to 30,000, and then cadet EMT goes to 0 because it went up
Right.
to 13.
Okay, so that's.
Given what I just said,
Make sure you delete the account altogether.
well, we're gonna zero it out just so there's line of sight.
Right,
Yeah.
because you want to see the history.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
the life
So you can say
side.
move from
Sure,
here to
not
there.
if you delete it. And then you explain where it went. It's much better than having a zero sitting out there.
Because I have to keep the historical data there.
Whatever is a good accounting practice.
Yeah, so given all those changes that I just said, I will entertain a motion to approve this as is with the stipulation that everyone in the side over there is still gonna figure out COLAs, stipends, all that stuff.
And a new name for that, the
Yes,
serious.
for a new name for 15. Yeah, I'll entertain the ambulance.
Also moved.
All right. All those in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. All those opposed? All right, excellent. That was exceptionally painful this year.
It was painful in a different way.
No, that was productive though,
No,
you did it in one
You don't
meeting.
want the same pain every
That's
year.
right.
you know,
That's
you
right,
gotta-
you're
you gotta
still
lose
on
variety.
time.
Yeah, no.
How do you like that? Yeah.
No, exactly.
That was
It
good.
was
was
painful,
good.
it was
I learned a lot,
exceptionally.
actually.
No, it was exceptionally productive.
And Margie doesn't have to come back.
Yeah.
That's right. That's right.
That's a bonus, it is a first, it's good.
Margie, thank you for.
Thank you.
Have a
No
good day.
problem.
Yes, thank you for
Thank
explaining
you.
all that.
Thanks.
It's
We'll
very,
be in touch on
very
that.
helpful.
Okay, all right. So what I did, let's see, Linda did include the timeline, I don't think. All right, so first of all, everyone has in front of them a copy of the master schedule of what and when we're going to be, doing everything for the rest of this year. I have extra
That's
copies.
the one thing I don't, Brad, that's the one thing I do not have.
Yeah, all right.
That's right.
And so,
And everything else is not that.
all right, and so Ken, I have a copy here for you, but, so the game plan on that was, we were gonna look through it. We were going to determine if there were other groups department heads, et cetera, that we felt, we could extend the courtesy if they so desired to come before us, but if, they didn't want to, we were okay. In light of the fact that we all just got the full budget this evening, what I'd like to do is just, recommend that we all take a look at the full budget over the course of this next week. Line up who we're scheduled to see in the coming weeks for the rest of the year, and come back next Tuesday with a list of certain departments that you guys feel we could discuss, that you feel don't need potentially to come in. Is that a game plan that we can all live by? Namely because Ken doesn't have the master list, and we all just got the full budget.
How much discussion can we have without the departments being represented?
We give them the option.
Yeah, well, basically.
Next week, when we discuss.
Yeah.
Somebody says, I don't think we need to see Department A, and somebody says, we do, and why? But they're not here. I mean, we're discussing a department outside of them being here.
Yeah, so my thought is, if, unless we have unanimous consent, if one person on this board says, I'd actually like to see them, then they come in. If all of us are in agreement that we feel it's okay that we can approve their budget as is, that is simply the process where we will then extend a phone call to say, hey, here's where we are. You are still welcome to come in and walk us through.
I could be that person, because I think there's some value in even the non-monetary parts. Like we learned the dog kennel situation at Stowe, and it's
Ted,
kind of a little bit of a...
No, Ted, I completely agree. I'm simply, this was a request by another person on the committee, and there was at least there was a discussion, and, so my thought is, we bring it forward, we talk about it.
Okay.
But yeah, I agree. I shared the story tonight with Mr. Cabral. I mean, there was nothing in his budget, but there's always something. There has in the past been something with him that we have learned while he's been here. So that's where we are. I created, not that it matters, because Natasha pointed out to me that I didn't create a timeline specifically for this year, but again, in my opinion, it was self-explanatory. Here's what we're doing, and we're gonna have this done by town meeting. I don't, when it gets done, but I'll work on an updated time. So the point
That's okay,
is,
I don't need it.
yeah, so we're all still working on some GFOA stuff, but I created a master, maybe you guys got electronically, I don't know.
Got something, I got a timeline.
Yeah, and that's for like the whole project.
Beautiful, Brian.
Yeah, very
Is that
Well, there's some people in this audience who didn't necessarily like it.
We got it the abbreviated version. It was like today in 2019.
Snapshot, yes.
He zoomed from today to 2019. Without a blink of an eye.
I have no
Whoa,
idea.
look at that.
That's impressive.
Oh, yeah, that's from 87.
Is that Brad's time?
I guess I have them on our
Circled.
I don't know who it came
All right. Does
from.
it,
Long and prosper.
those are really, from a advisory committee business. Again, I think we should just hold this off. Look through the Basker budget, and we can talk about it next week. The other thing that came to my attention, Linda Day asked me about capital planning, about if we wanted to have capital planning come in and, talk through the process. And my first reaction was, I wanted to know, do they have a list of the capital items of what's going on? But, the guys on capital planning, I feel as though they have a good understanding of our process, so I didn't necessarily want to bring them all in to say, oh, hey, you know, here's what we want out of you. I think they have a pretty good idea of what they're gonna be doing, but,
I had given them, by the way, samples of the Northborough stuff that applied to them
yeah,
after the meeting, because I think one or two of the members were there.
yeah.
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 So I gave them like the one-page sheets, because I had given those to Harold,
Mhm.
and this little truck picture and
Yeah.
everything. And
Maybe they could just do a little pamphlet.
yeah, I don't
Give you
know
guys.
if they've met or if they've discussed or what they've
Do
done.
they have a list?
I
Well,
don't,
they
yeah.
have inside your, through your reminders, all this is all capital plan.
Yeah,
All
so,
right.
so have they
Okay,
met?
which we just got this evening.
Or
Okay.
at least
Did
inside
you know
mine.
they-
All right.
Have they met?
I have no idea.
Yeah, I don't know who they
Well, that's
are.
right.
Yeah.
So the bottom line is, I said no, I didn't necessarily want to see them, because I didn't want to drag them in here
Yeah.
for, you know, a non-discussion, basically.
Have they met, Jamie?
I don't know.
I'll ask Linda.
Yeah, I asked Linda a whole mess of questions on that to see where they are, but I'm hoping they're at least entertaining getting together to start thinking about meeting.
If you want, I can just shoot them an email to see if if they've gone through that stuff and if they need anything.
Yeah,
Um,
that would be good.
yeah. Because I know Harold originally was gonna prepare those did he prepare those one page?
They issued this, I mean, I haven't looked at it.
Oh,
Certainly
that's
mine.
nice.
Oh, wow. Good.
Ooh, I like it.
Oh, yeah, Harold did do, and his big thing was, he did do the one-page things, he goes, how do I drop the picture in the box? And
We'll take care of the
I said, we can take care of the pictures. Oh, so they did do those. Oh,
That
that's
looks
cool.
nice.
That looks really nice. People will like that.
Okay.
So they issued that, Ted?
Yeah, it's inside the,
It's inside
Oh.
the budget.
Linda Day three-ring.
Oh, that's
awesome.
Yeah.
You know.
All right.
I'd like one of those.
Anything else? Ken, any questions from you?
No, next week sounds good.
All right, I have a copy here of the list of the schedule for you, and I'm gonna I have all the stuff for Connie. Connie's not here either, so I will leave it with Connie's stuff, and I'll put it back on Linda's desk, and I'll leave a note for her. So
That's fine.
at your convenience, you can swing by and grab it.
Okay.
All right. So if no other questions, issues, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I so move.
Second.
All right, all those in favor say aye. Aye.
Bye.
Have a nice evening, everyone.
Good night.
Thank you.
Good.